My name is Elena, and I'm 58 years old now, though some days I feel like I've lived 100 lifetimes in this weary body. 20 years ago, my world shattered in a single night, and no amount of mourning since has pieced it back together. I still wake up reaching for a crib that's long been empty, still hear a baby's cry in the hush of dawn. And every year, on the same cursed date, I bake a cake no one will eat and light candles for a boy who never grew up. The house is too quiet this morning, the kind of quiet that presses against your eardrums until you want to scream just to hear something real. Sunlight filters through the lace curtains in the kitchen, painting pale patterns on the worn oak table where Richard sits, sipping his coffee like any other Tuesday. He's aged, too, gray at the temples, lines etched deep around his eyes. But he still looks at me with that same soft smile, the one that used to make my knees weak when we were young and foolish and believed love could conquer anything. I used to believe that smile meant safety. Now I'm not so sure what it means. I set the mixing bowl in the sink, the clatter louder than I intended. My hands tremble as I rinse it, the water running cold over my knuckles. 20 years, 2 decades of pretending, of smiling back at him across this table while inside I'm screaming. The calendar on the wall mocks me with its neat little squares. November 7th circled in red ink, the same way I've marked it every year since 2005. Tomorrow the cake will come out of the oven, chocolate with vanilla frosting. The only kind I ever made for my baby boy. Tomorrow the candles will flicker in an empty room. Tomorrow I'll sing "Happy Birthday" to a ghost. Richard clears his throat, and I flinch. "You okay, Len?" he asks, voice gentle as always. He reaches across the table, his fingers brushing mine. I want to pull away, but I don't. I never do. "You've been quiet all morning." "Just tired," I lie, forcing a smile that feels like glass in my mouth. "The charity thing starts today. I should get going soon." He nods, satisfied, and returns to his newspaper. The rustle of pages is the only sound between us. I watch the back of his head, the way his hair has thinned at the crown, and I wonder, not for the first time, how many secrets a man can carry in the curve of his skull, how many lies can fit behind those kind blue eyes. I turn away to hide the tremor in my lips. The hallway mirror catches my reflection as I pass, gray streaks in my dark hair, crow's feet fanning from eyes that used to sparkle. I look like someone's grandmother, not a woman who once danced barefoot in the grass with her newborn son pressed to her chest. The memory hits me like a fist, his tiny fingers curled around mine, the weight of him warm and perfect, the way he smelled of milk and new life. I'd only had him for 6 weeks. 6 weeks of heaven before hell swallowed us whole. The police called it a kidnapping, a monster in the night who slipped through our unlocked back door while we slept. They searched for months, fingerprints, footprints, neighbors' statements, but found nothing. No ransom note, no witnesses, just an empty crib and a mother's scream that echoed long after the officers left. Richard held me that night, rocking me on the nursery floor as I sobbed into his shirt. "We'll find him, Len," he whispered over and over. "We'll get him back." His tears soaked my hair, his arms strong around me. I believed him. God help me, I believed him. But belief is a fragile thing. It cracks under the weight of too many unanswered questions. Why was the back door unlocked when we always locked it? Why did Richard insist on taking the baby monitor downstairs that night, saying he'd hear better from the living room? Why did he come home so late from work the evening before, smelling of cigarette smoke and something metallic I couldn't place? I buried those questions deep, told myself grief was making me paranoid. A mother's mind plays cruel tricks when her child is gone. I grabbed my purse from the hook by the door, the leather cracked and faded like everything else in this house. "I'll be back by dinner," I call out, not waiting for Richard's reply. The screen door creaks as I step onto the porch, the November air sharp against my cheeks. The maple tree in the front yard has lost most of its leaves, skeletal branches clawing at the gray sky. I planted that tree the day we brought baby Alexander home from the hospital. Richard laughed at me for choosing a spot so close to the house. It'll grow into the foundation, Len. But I wanted him to have shade when he played in the yard. I wanted him to have everything. The drive to the community center is a blur of familiar streets and familiar pain. I park in the lot behind the brick building, my hands gripping the steering wheel long after the engine dies. The charity program starts today, Helping Hands, they call it. A 6-month initiative to teach orphans aging out of the system how to navigate adulthood. Budgeting, job interviews, renting an apartment. Practical things my son never got to learn. I volunteered on a whim last month, needing something to fill the hollow hours when Richard was at work and the house felt like a tomb. The coordinator, a kind-eyed woman named Marisol, hugged me when I signed up. "We need more moms like you," she said, "someone who understands loss." If only she knew how deep that loss runs. Inside, the center buzzes with nervous energy. Folding tables are set up in the gymnasium, covered with pamphlets and sign-in sheets. Young faces, 18, 19, 20, mill around, clutching styrofoam cups of coffee. Some look defiant, others terrified. All of them carry the weight of being unwanted in their eyes. I know that look. I see it in the mirror every morning. Marisol waves me over. "Elena? Perfect timing. Can you help with orientation? We're short-staffed." I nod, grateful for the distraction, and she hands me a clipboard. "Pair up the kids with mentors. You'll be great at this." The first hour passes in a whirlwind of names and small talk. I smile until my cheeks ache, shake hands that are calloused or trembling, offer reassurances I don't feel. These kids aren't so different from Alexander would have been. Had he lived, had he been allowed to grow. I push the thought away, focus on the task at hand. And then I see him. He's standing by the refreshment table, pouring coffee with careful movements. Tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair that falls across his forehead in a way that makes my breath catch. When he turns, our eyes meet across the room, and the world tilts. His eyes, hazel shot through with gold, framed by lashes too long for a boy, are mine, or rather, they're the eyes I see every time I look at old photographs of myself at 25. The eyes I imagined my son would have. He smiles politely and walks over, extending a hand. "Hi, I'm Nathan." His voice is deep but gentle, the kind of voice that could read bedtime stories or break hearts. "You're one of the mentors?" I nod, unable to speak. My hand in his is warm, strong, the grip confident, but not crushing. Up close, the resemblance is uncanny. The slope of his cheekbones, the slight dimple in his chin. But it's not just the face. It's the way he tilts his head when he listens, the way his fingers drum lightly against his thigh when he's thinking. Gestures I haven't seen in 20 years, but remember like they were yesterday, because they were Alexander's. I pull my hand back too quickly, pretending to adjust my clipboard. "Elena," I manage, "welcome to the program." Nathan's gaze lingers on my face, curious. "Have we met before? You look familiar?" My heart hammers against my ribs. "No," I say, too fast. "I don't think so." He nods, accepting, but there's a flicker of something in his eyes. Recognition? Confusion? Before I can decipher it, Marisol calls for attention, and the moment breaks. Nathan returns to his seat, but I feel his gaze on me throughout the orientation, a weight both terrifying and magnetic. When the session ends, I linger by the door, watching him gather his things. He slings a worn backpack over one shoulder, and that's when I see it, a glint of silver at his throat. A necklace, a star-shaped pendant, small and delicate, with a tiny letter E engraved in the center. The same necklace I fastened around my newborn son's neck the day we brought him home. The one Richard said must have been stolen with the baby. My knees buckle. I grip the doorframe to stay upright as the room spins. Nathan glances back, offers another polite smile, and walks out into the November chill. I stand there long after he's gone, the pendant burned into my mind like a brand. 20 years of grief, of questions, of nightmares. And now this. A boy with my eyes, my gestures, my necklace. A boy who would be 20 years old now. The scar that never heals rips open, and for the first time in 2 decades, I feel something sharper than pain. Hope. The drive home is a tunnel of blurred headlights and wet asphalt, the windshield wipers beating a frantic rhythm against the drizzle that started the moment I left the community center. My hands are white on the steering wheel, knuckles aching, but I barely feel it. All I can see is that star pendant swinging against Nathan's collarbone, catching the fluorescent light like a tiny accusation. All I can hear is the soft cadence of his voice saying, "Have we met before?" As if the universe itself leaned in to whisper, "Yes, Elena, a lifetime ago." I pull into the driveway too fast, tires hissing on the slick pavement. The porch light flickers. Richard still hasn't replaced the bulb, even though I've asked him a dozen times, and the house looks smaller somehow, hunched against the rain like it's trying to hide. I sit in the car long after the engine dies, watching droplets race each other down the glass. 20 years of muscle memory tell me to go inside, hang my coat, start dinner, kiss my husband on the cheek, and pretend the world still makes sense. But tonight, the lie tastes like rust in my mouth. Richard's truck is gone. He texted earlier, something about a late meeting at the office. I should be relieved for the silence, but the emptiness of the house feels like a held breath. I drop my purse on the hall table, the thud echoing too loud, and head straight for the staircase. The nursery door is closed, as always. I haven't opened it in years, not since the last time I collapsed inside, and Richard found me hours later, curled on the rug with Alexander's baby blanket clutched to my chest. He carried me to bed that night, whispering, "Let it go, Len. He's gone." I wanted to scream that you don't let go of a child, you just learn to carry the absence like a second skeleton. But I was too tired to fight. Tonight, though, I need proof I'm not losing my mind. The door creaks as I push it open. Dust motes dance in the sliver of light from the hallway, and the air smells of lavender sachets and forgotten dreams. The crib is still there, white paint, chipped, mobile of tiny stars frozen mid-twirl. On the dresser sits the memory box, cedar, hand-carved by my father the week Alexander was born. I lift the lid with shaking fingers. Inside, a hospital bracelet, a lock of dark hair, the first onesie he ever wore, now yellowed with age. And beneath it all, the photograph. Me in the hospital bed, exhausted and radiant, cradling a red-faced newborn against my breast. Richard stands beside us, one hand on my shoulder, the other gently touching the baby's cheek. We look like a postcard of happiness. I flip the photo over. On the back, in my looping handwriting, Alexander Richard Evans, 6 weeks old. Our miracle. My throat closes. I set the picture down and dig deeper, past the sympathy cards and the newspaper clipping about the kidnapping. My fingers brush something cold. Metal. I pull it out, and my heart stops. A second star pendant, identical to the one Nathan wore. I'd bought them as a pair the day we brought Alexander home. One for him, one for me. So we'd always be connected. I'd fastened his around his neck with tears in my eyes, whispering, "My North Star." The matching one went on a chain around my own neck, until the morning he vanished. Richard said it must have been taken with the baby. I believed him. I wanted to believe him. But here it is, tangled in a knot of ribbon at the bottom of the box, untouched, unstolen. I sink to the carpet, the pendant clenched in my fist until the edges bite into my palm. The room tilts again, same as it did in the gym, but this time there's no doorframe to hold onto. Only the truth, sharp and sudden. Richard lied. The rain is heavier now, drumming against the window like impatient fingers. I don't know how long I sit there. Minutes, hours, until headlights sweep across the ceiling. Richard's home. I shove everything back into the box, slam the lid, and stumble downstairs just as the front door opens. "Hey, Len," he calls, shaking rain from his coat. "Sorry I'm late. Traffic was—" I'm in the hallway before he finishes, the pendant burning a hole in my pocket. "Richard." My voice cracks like thin ice. "We need to talk." He freezes, umbrella dripping onto the mat. "What's wrong?" I pull the necklace out, let it dangle from my fingers. The star catches the light, throws it back like a dare. "Explain this." His face goes the color of old ash. For a moment, he looks like the man in the hospital photo, young, terrified, in over his head. Then the mask slips back into place. I don't know. Maybe you had too?" "Don't." The word slices through the air. "Don't you dare lie to me again." He opens his mouth, closes it. The silence stretches, thick with 20 years of unsaid things. Finally, he sighs, the sound of a man surrendering to gravity. "Sit down, Elena." "No." I step closer, close enough to smell the rain on his skin and the faint trace of whiskey underneath. "You sit, and you tell me why our son's necklace is in a box upstairs while another boy, our boy, is wearing its twin around his neck." Richard's knees buckle. He sinks onto the bottom stair, head in his hands. When he looks up, his eyes are red-rimmed, ancient. "I never wanted you to find out like this." "Find out what?" He takes a shuddering breath. "The kidnapping, there was no stranger, Len. It was me." The words hit like a slap, but I don't flinch. I've been bracing for this blow since the moment I saw Nathan's eyes. "Say it plainly." "I sold him." His voice breaks on the word. "I sold our baby." The room narrows to a pinpoint, his crumpled face, the puddle forming beneath his shoes, the star pendant swinging like a pendulum between us. I want to scream, to claw his eyes out, to demand, "How could you? How could you? How could you?" But my body has other plans. My legs give out, and I slide down the wall until I'm sitting on the cold tile, the necklace still clutched in my fist. Richard crawls toward me, reaching. I was drowning, Len. The gambling. Those men. They were going to kill me. Kill us. They said the baby would go to a good family, that he'd have a better life than we could give him. I thought it was the only way to keep you safe. Safe? The word tastes like bile. You stole my child to keep me safe? "I was weak," he whispers. "I was a coward, but I've carried it every day since, every birthday cake, every candle. God, Len, I see his face every time I close my eyes." I laugh then, a sound sharp enough to cut glass. "You don't get to carry him. You forfeited that right the moment you handed him over like a poker chip." He flinches as if I'd struck him. "Good." I push to my feet, legs trembling but holding. "Where is he, Richard? Where's our son?" "I don't know." His voice is small, childlike. "They took him that night. I never saw him again." "Liar." I'm in his face now, close enough to see the pulse jumping in his throat. "You knew Nathan was in that program. You've known all along." He shakes his head frantically. "No, I swear." "Don't." I step back, the pendant slipping from my fingers to clatter on the tile between us. "Tomorrow, you're going to tell me everything. Every name, every detail. And then you're going to help me get him back. Or I swear to God, Richard, I will burn this house down with you in it." I leave him there on the stairs, sobbing into his hands like the broken man he is. Upstairs, I lock the bedroom door, slide down it until I'm sitting on the carpet again. The rain has stopped. The silence is worse. I pull out my phone with shaking fingers and type Nathan's name into the program's contact list Marisol gave me. His number stares back, innocent and damning. I don't call, not yet. Instead, I open the Photos app and scroll to the oldest picture, the one from the hospital. I zoom in on Alexander's tiny face, on the star pendant resting against his chest. Then I open a new message, attach the photo, and type, "Nathan, it's Elena from Helping Hands. Can we meet tomorrow? There's something I need to tell you. Something about your necklace." I hit send before I can second-guess myself. The message shows delivered. 3 dots appear, then vanish, then appear again. My heart is in my throat. Finally, sure, coffee at Brewed Awakening? 10 a.m.? I type yes and set the phone face down, as if that could stop the avalanche I've just started. Outside, the clouds part just enough for a sliver of moon to shine through. It catches on the star pendant, still lying on the hallway tile downstairs, throwing a tiny constellation across the ceiling. I watch it dance until dawn, memorizing the shape of hope and dread intertwined. Tomorrow, I meet my son. Tomorrow, I begin to take back what was stolen. But tonight, I let myself cry for the baby I lost, for the boy I'm about to find, and for the marriage that died 20 years ago in a crib no one ever rocked again. I didn't sleep. How could I? The ceiling fan clicked above me, like a metronome counting down to Judgment Day, while Richard's muffled sobs drifted up through the floorboards until they finally faded into the heavy breathing of a man who'd confessed his worst sin and still found a way to rest. I lay on my back, eyes wide, the star pendant, my star pendant, curled in my fist like a secret heartbeat. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Nathan's face superimposed over Alexander's newborn one, the 2 images flickering like a faulty film reel. My son, my son, my son. The words looped until they lost meaning, until they were just a drumbeat of rage and wonder. At 6:47 a.m., I was already dressed, jeans, a soft gray sweater, the kind of clothes that make you invisible in a crowd. Richard was still asleep on the couch downstairs, one arm flung over his face as if he could block out the light. I stepped over the puddle of melted ice from his abandoned whiskey glass and slipped out the door without a sound. The morning was cold, the kind of cold that seeps into your bones and makes you remember you're alive. I needed that. I needed to feel something other than the hollow roar inside my chest. Brewed Awakening sits on the corner of Maple and Fifth, a little brick cafe with fogged windows and the perpetual smell of burnt sugar. I was 20 minutes early, but Nathan was already there, hunched over a corner table with a mug cradled in both hands. He looked up when the bell jingled, and for a moment, we just stared. No polite mentor-mentee smile this time, just raw recognition, like 2 magnets pulled across a room. "Elena." He stood, nearly knocking over his chair. "You're early?" "So are you." My voice came out steadier than I felt. I slid into the seat across from him, wrapping my cold fingers around the warm ceramic mug the barista set down without asking. Chamomile. She must have seen the tremor in my hands. Nathan sat back down, his gaze flicking to the chain around my neck. My star pendant, the one I'd worn for the first time in 20 years. His fingers went instinctively to his own, a mirror gesture that made my throat close. "You said you had something to tell me," he prompted, gentle but firm. "About this." He lifted the pendant, letting it spin slowly on its chain. The engraved E caught the light, throwing a tiny flare across the table. I opened my mouth, but the words tangled. "You're my son. Your father sold you. I've been dead for 20 years. None of it would come out right." So I reached into my purse and pulled out the photograph, the hospital one, edges soft from years of handling. I slid it across the table like evidence in a trial. Nathan's breath hitched. He picked it up with careful fingers, as if it might disintegrate. His eyes, my eyes, moved from the tiny baby to my face, then back again. "This is Alexander Richard Evans," I finished. "Born September 22nd, 2005. Taken from his crib 6 weeks later. That's the necklace he was wearing when he disappeared." Nathan's hand went to his throat again, fingers closing over the star like a shield. "I've had this as long as I can remember. They told me it was the only thing I came with." His voice cracked on the last word. "Who's they?" I swallowed hard. "The people who bought you." The color drained from his face. The cafe noise, clinking spoons, hissing steam, murmured conversations, faded into a dull roar. "You're saying I was stolen?" "Sold," I corrected, the word bitter on my tongue. "By my husband, your father." He stared at me for a long moment, and I watched the truth settle over him like a shroud. His shoulders curled inward, the way Alexander used to when he was overwhelmed by the world. "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because I just found out." My voice broke. "Because I spent 20 years lighting birthday candles for a ghost while you were—" I gestured helplessly at the space between us, at the years we'd lost. "While you were here." Nathan set the photo down carefully, aligning it with the edge of the table. "I don't remember him. Richard. I met a man named Richard once, when I was maybe 7 or 8. He came to the group home with a social worker, said he was a family friend, gave me a teddy bear and $20. I thought he was just some rich guy doing charity." He laughed, a hollow sound. "Turns out, he was paying interest on a debt." The teddy bear. I remembered Richard coming home that night, hands shaking as he poured himself a drink. "Rough day at the office," he'd said. I'd believed him. God, I'd believed every lie. "I need to know everything," Nathan said suddenly, leaning forward. "Every detail. Where I was born, what hospital, what happened that night. I've spent my whole life trying to fill in the blanks. And now you're telling me the answers were 20 miles away this whole time?" I nodded, tears burning tracks down my cheeks. "I'll tell you everything. But first—" I reached across the table, hesitated, then covered his hand with mine. His skin was warm, calloused from work I didn't know about yet. "First, I need to know you, what your life was like. If you were happy." He pulled back, not unkindly, but the distance was there. Happy's a strong word. I bounced between 6 foster homes before I aged out. The last one wasn't bad. Mrs. Delgado, she taught me how to fix cars. But before that— He shrugged, the gesture too adult for the boyish face. "Let's just say I learned early that love comes with conditions." I flinched. "I never stopped loving you. Not for 1 second." "I believe you," he said quietly. "But believing and feeling are different things." The barista brought refills we hadn't asked for. I wrapped my hands around the fresh mug, letting the heat ground me. "There's something else," I said. "Your birthday? September 22nd? He nodded slowly. "How'd you know?" "Because it's the day everything changed." I pulled out my phone, opened the calendar app, and turned it toward him. September 22nd, 2005 was circled in red. The day Alexander was born. The day he disappeared was November 7th, 6 weeks later. "You would have turned 20 this year." Nathan stared at the screen, then at me. "You still mark it." "Every year." My voice was barely a whisper. "Chocolate cake, 20 candles, I sing to an empty chair." He closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, they were wet. "I stopped celebrating after I turned 10. No one in the system cares about foster kids' birthdays." The ache in my chest was physical, a fist squeezing my heart. "I care," I said fiercely. "I cared then, and I care now. And I'm going to make this right, Nathan, whatever it takes." He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. "Okay. But I have questions. A lot of them. And I want to meet him. Richard, I want to look him in the eye and ask why a teddy bear and $20 was worth more than his own kid." The thought of them in the same room made my stomach lurch. "He's not the man I thought he was?" "Clearly." Nathan's jaw tightened. "When?" "Soon," I promised. "But first, I need to confirm everything. Hospital records, adoption papers. There has to be a trail. And I need to protect you. If the people who took you are still out there, I can protect myself. He cut in, but there was no bravado in it. Just fact. I've been doing it since I was 6. The cafe was filling up, the morning rush pressing in around us. I wanted to keep him here, in this bubble where he was mine again. But the world wouldn't wait. Can I see you again tomorrow? I asked. Same time? He hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, but Elena. He used my name like he was testing its weight. I'm not ready to call you Mom. Not yet. The words were a knife, but I understood. You don't have to. Just don't disappear, please. I won't. He stood, slinging his backpack over one shoulder. At the door, he paused, looking back. For what it's worth, I always wondered why the E was on here. Thought maybe it stood for something I'd forgotten. It stands for Elena, I said, and for enough, because you were always enough. He gave me a small, sad smile, then pushed through the door into the gray morning. I watched him go, the star pendant glinting one last time before he turned the corner. Back home, Richard was in the kitchen, nursing coffee and a hangover. He looked up when I walked in, eyes bloodshot. Where were you? With our son. I dropped my keys on the counter with a clatter. He wants to meet you. Richard paled. Elena, Save it. I cut him off. You're going to tell him everything, and then you're going to help me make this right. Or I walk out that door and you never see me again. He opened his mouth, closed it. For the first time in 20 years, he looked small. I turned away, pulling out my laptop. Hospital records, adoption agencies, bank statements from 2005. The trail was cold, but it existed, and I would follow it to the ends of the earth if it meant bringing my son home. Outside, the clouds parted just enough for a weak sun to break through. It caught on the star pendant around my neck, throwing a tiny constellation across the kitchen wall. A promise. A beginning. Nathan's birthday was in 2 weeks. This year, there would be cake. And this time, he'd be there to blow out the candles. The house has never felt smaller than it does tonight. The walls lean in like gossiping neighbors. The floorboards creak with every shift of my weight, and the air is thick with the sour smell of Richard's fear sweat. He's in the living room, pacing the same 3-foot path between the couch and the fireplace, the rug worn thin from 20 years of pretending everything was fine. I sit at the kitchen table with my laptop open, the glow of the screen the only light in the room. Bank statements from 2005 stare back at me, numbers marching in neat columns like soldiers guarding a lie. I found the transfer slip an hour ago, buried in a folder labeled medical bills on an old external hard drive Richard thought I'd never touch. The date, November 7th, 2005. The amount, $50,000. The recipient, an account registered to R. Evans, Trust. Richard's initials, Richard's signature, Richard's Betrayal, stamped in black and white. I printed it. The paper is still warm from the printer, curled slightly at the edges. I laid it on the table between us like a dead thing, and now it sits there, pulsing with the same heartbeat that's been pounding in my ears since Nathan walked out of the cafe this morning. Richard stops pacing. Len, please, let me explain. Explain? My laugh is sharp enough to draw blood. You've had 20 years to explain, Richard. 20 years of birthday cakes and empty chairs, and me crying myself to sleep while you slept. I push the printout toward him. Start with this. He doesn't touch it. His hands hang at his sides, fingers twitching like they're reaching for a lifeline that isn't there. I was going to tell you, after the program, after what? After you'd watched me mentor our own son without knowing it? I stand, the chair scraping back with a sound like a scream. You knew he was in that program. You knew, and you let me walk in there blind. I didn't know it was him. The words burst out of him, desperate. I swear, Len, I haven't seen him since that night. The people who took him, They promised no contact. I thought he was better off. Better off? I'm across the room before I realize I've moved, my hands fisted in his shirt. Better off in foster homes? Better off wondering why no one wanted him? You sold him, Richard, like a used car. He doesn't fight back, just stands there, letting me shake him, tears streaming down his face. I was drowning, he whispers. The casino, the loans, those men, they had knives, Len. They showed me pictures of you, said they'd cut you up if I didn't pay. 50 grand or your life. I thought if I gave them the baby, they'd leave us alone. I release him so suddenly he stumbles. You thought wrong. The silence that follows is heavier than any scream. I turn away, pressing my palms to the cool countertop to steady myself. The kitchen clock ticks. 1, 2, 3. Each second a nail in the coffin of the life we built on lies. I need the names, I say finally, my voice flat. Everyone involved. The men you owed, the people who took him. Every detail. Richard sinks onto a stool, head in his hands. I don't have them all. The guy I dealt with, he went by Marco. No last name. He worked for a loan shark out of Jersey. Said the baby would go to a couple who couldn't have kids. Rich. Connected. I signed papers, Len. Adoption papers. I thought it was legal. Legal? I whirl on him. You faked a kidnapping and call it legal? I panicked. He slams his fist on the counter, the sound echoing like a gunshot. I came home that night, took Alexander out to the backyard to calm him. He was colicky, you remember? And Marco was waiting by the fence. He had the money in a briefcase. Said it was the only way. I handed him over, just like that. His voice breaks. I told you he was kidnapped because I couldn't face what I'd done. The image hits me like a physical blow. Richard in the dark backyard, our tiny son in his arms, passing him over a fence like a package. I double over, gasping, the pain in my chest so sharp I think I'm having a heart attack. You held him, I choke out. You held our baby and you gave him away? I know. Richard's on his knees now, crawling toward me. I know, Len. I've lived with it every day. Every time you lit those candles, every time you cried in the shower. I heard you. I wanted to die, but I was too much of a coward to confess. I step back, out of reach. Get up! My voice is steel. You don't get to kneel. You don't get absolution. You get to help me fix this. He scrambles to his feet, wiping his face with the back of his hand. Anything. I'll do anything. Good. I grab a notepad and pen, shove them at him. Write it down. Every name, every place, every detail you remember. Then we're going to the police. His eyes widen. The police? Len, those men are criminals, I cut in. And you're going to help put them away. Or I will. With or without you. He stares at me for a long moment, then nods slowly. Takes the pen with shaking fingers. The scratch of ink on paper is the only sound as he writes. Names, dates, a warehouse address in Newark, a phone number with a 201 area code. When he's done, he slides the pad back to me. That's everything. I scan it, memorizing. Tomorrow, we take this to Detective Harlan. He worked the original case. He'll know what to do. Richard nods, but his eyes are distant, calculating. I see it. The flicker of self-preservation. Len, if I go down for this, you are going down for this, I say coldly. The only question is whether you drag the rest of us with you. He flinches, but doesn't argue. Good. I leave him in the kitchen and head upstairs, the notepad clutched to my chest like a shield. In the nursery, I open the memory box again, pull out Alexander's hospital bracelet. The tiny plastic band is cracked with age, the ink faded, but still legible. Baby boy Evans. I slip it into my pocket, next to the star pendant. Evidence, armor, my phone buzzes. Nathan, found something. Meet me at the library tomorrow, 2 p.m. Bring coffee, I type back. Black? 2 sugars? A guess, but his reply is instant. You remembered. My heart twists. I didn't remember. I'm learning, but I will. I'll learn every detail of the 20 years I missed. Before bed, I sit on the edge of the mattress, the transfer slip in one hand, Richard's list in the other. The pieces are falling into place, a puzzle I never wanted to solve. Marco. Newark. A couple who paid 50 grand for a newborn. The trail is there, buried, but not gone. I think of Nathan, his careful hands pouring coffee, the way he tilted his head when he listened, the scar on his knuckle he got from a foster brother's bike chain. My son, alive, hurting, waiting for answers I'm finally able to give. Downstairs, Richard's pacing has stopped. I hear the creak of the couch as he lies down, the soft click of the lamp. He'll sleep eventually. Guilt is a heavy sedative. But I won't. Not tonight. I open my laptop again, start a new document. Timeline, I title it. Then I type, Sept 22, 2005, Alexander born, Novi 7, 2005, taken by Richard, handed to Marco, $50,000 transferred, Nov 8, 2005, police report filed, kidnapping staged, 2025, Nathan found, truth revealed. I add Richard's list, the bank details, the hospital records I pulled from the county archives this afternoon, birth certificate, discharge papers, all listing Richard as the father who signed out against medical advice the day before the Ba kidnapping. Another lie, another brick in the wall he built between us. When I'm done, I save it to a USB drive, then email a copy to myself. Insurance. If Richard tries to run, if Marco's people come looking, the truth will outlive us all. I slip into bed fully clothed, the star pendant cold against my skin. The house is silent now, but it's a different silence, charged, waiting, like the moment before a storm breaks. Tomorrow, I take the first real step toward justice. Tomorrow, I start digging up the grave Richard buried our family in. But tonight, I close my eyes and see Nathan's face. Older, harder, but still my baby's face. I whisper into the dark, the same words I sang to him in the hospital all those years ago. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. The song trails off into tears, but for the first time in 20 years, they're not tears of loss. They're tears of war. The rain starts just as I pull into the driveway, fat drops splattering the windshield like thrown gravel. It's barely noon, but the sky is the color of a bruise, low and angry. I sit in the car for a long minute, watching water stream down the glass in crooked rivers, the USB drive with the timeline clenched in my fist. Richard's truck is gone. Good. I texted him this morning. Library with Nathan at 2. Be home by 4. We talk then. No reply. I didn't expect one. Nathan is waiting on the library steps, hood up against the rain, a paper cup in each hand. He hands me one when I reach him. Black, 2 sugars. Exactly right. Figured you'd need it, he says. His voice is steady, but his eyes are red-rimmed. He hasn't slept either. Inside, we find a corner table near the back, surrounded by dusty encyclopedias no one's opened since the internet was born. The air smells of old paper and lemon polish. Nathan pulls a manila folder from his backpack and slides it across the table. Adoption records, he says quietly. Not official, but close enough. I open it with shaking fingers. Inside, a photocopy of a birth certificate. Nathan James Delgado, born September 22, 2005. Mother listed as unknown, father blank. A second sheet, a private adoption agreement, dated November 10, 2005, signed by a couple in Connecticut, Dr. and Mrs. Harlan Whitmore. The fee, $50,000, paid in full. My breath catches. Harlan, I whisper. Same last name as the detective. Nathan nods grimly. Small world. Or not so small. Turns out Detective Harlan's brother couldn't have kids. Guess who brokered the deal? I stare at the signature at the bottom. Marco Rossi, the name from Richard's list. The pieces click into place with a sound like bones breaking. There's more, Nathan says. He pulls out his phone, shows me a photo. A grainy newspaper clipping from 2006. Local doctor and wife welcome miracle baby. The Whitmores, beaming, holding a dark-haired infant. The caption? Nathan James, 6 weeks old. I trace the baby's face with a trembling finger. That's you, I say. That's my baby. Nathan's jaw tightens. They kept me till I was 4. Then the wife got sick. Cancer. Doctor couldn't handle a kid alone. I went into the system. End of story. I close the folder, the paper cutting into my palms. Not the end, I say. The middle. We sit in silence for a while, the rain drumming on the skylight above us. Finally, Nathan speaks. I want to see him. Richard. Today. I nod. He'll be home soon. The drive back is quiet, the wipers keeping time with my heartbeat. Nathan stares out the window, fingers drumming on his thigh. Alexander's old nervous habit. When we pull into the driveway, Richard's truck is there, mud-splattered from the rain. The porch light is on, even though it's daytime. A bad sign. Inside, the house is too still. Richard? I call. No answer. Nathan follows me through the kitchen, past the table where the transfer slip still sits like a corpse. The living room is empty. Upstairs, the nursery door is open. Another bad sign. Richard is sitting on the nursery floor, back against the crib, a bottle of bourbon in one hand and a stack of papers in the other. Our wedding album. He looks up when we enter, eyes glassy. You brought him, he says, voice slurred. Good. Saves me the trip. Nathan stiffens beside me. You don't get to talk to me like you know me. Richard laughs, a wet, broken sound. I know you better than you think, kid. I changed your diapers, sang you to sleep when you had colic. You had this little birthmark on your left knee, shaped like a crescent moon. Still there? Nathan's hand goes instinctively to his leg. How? Because I loved you, Richard says, and the words are a punch. I loved you both. That's why it hurts so much to let you go. I step between them, my voice ice. You don't get to say that. You don't get to love him now. Richard struggles to his feet, swaying. I loved him enough to save him. From me. From the mess I made. He gestures vaguely at the papers scattered around him. Bank statements, loan documents, a photo of us at the hospital, all of us smiling like the world hadn't already ended. I was going to tell you, Len. After the program, after I fixed it. Fixed it? Nathan's voice is low, dangerous. You think you can fix 20 years of lies? Richard looks at him, really looks, and something in his face crumples. You have her eyes, he whispers. God, you have her eyes. Nathan takes a step forward, fists clenched. Don't! I grab his arm. Not like this. Richard sinks back to the floor, the fight gone out of him. I wrote it all down, he says, nodding at a yellow legal pad beside him. Everything. Names, dates, the warehouse in Newark where I handed you over. Marco's dead. Heart attack. 5 years ago. The Whitmores, too. Cancer took her. Guilt took him. There's no one left to punish but me. I pick up the pad. It's pages long. Richard's handwriting shaky but legible. Every detail, every lie, every tear. I'm turning myself in tomorrow, he says. Detective Harlan's retired, but his partner still works downtown. I'll tell them everything. You'll get justice, kid. Both of you. Nathan's breathing is ragged. Justice? You think a confession makes up for... His voice breaks. For foster homes? For nights I cried myself to sleep, wondering why my own parents didn't want me. Richard flinches. No, it doesn't, but it's all I've got left. I kneel beside him, the legal pad in my hands. Why now? He looks at me, and for the first time, I see the man I married, scared, broken, but still there beneath the ruin. Because I saw you with him today, at the library, through the window. You laughed at something he said, and it was the first time in 20 years I've seen you happy. I can't take that from you again. Nathan turns away, shoulders shaking. I want to reach for him, but I don't. Not yet. Richard pulls a small velvet box from his pocket, opens it with trembling fingers. Inside, a tiny silver ring, the one I bought for Alexander's christening. I kept it, he says, in my sock drawer. Every night I'd take it out and hold it, remind myself what I'd lost. He holds it out to Nathan. It's yours, if you want it. Nathan stares at the ring, then at Richard, then at me. His face is a storm, rage, grief, something softer I can't name. Finally, he takes it, closes his fist around it. I don't want your guilt, he says. I want my mother. The words hang in the air, heavier than any confession. Richard nods, tears streaming. She's yours, always was. I stand, my legs unsteady. We're leaving, I tell Nathan. You don't have to stay here. He nods, but doesn't move. One more thing. He steps closer to Richard, close enough that Richard has to crane his neck to meet his eyes. Did you ever love me, even for a second? Richard's sob is answer enough. Every second, he whispers. Every damn second. Nathan's jaw works, but he doesn't speak. He turns and walks out, the ring clenched in his fist. I follow, pausing at the door. Tomorrow, I say to Richard, you turn yourself in, or I will? He nods, already reaching for the bourbon again. I know. Outside, the rain has stopped. The air smells clean, like the world's been washed new. Nathan stands by my car, staring at the ring in his palm. He's going to jail, he says. Not a question. Yes. Good. I open the passenger door. Come home with me. Not here. My sister's place. She has a spare room. He hesitates, then nods. Okay. As we drive away, I glance in the rearview mirror. Richard is on the porch, watching us go. He raises one hand. Not a wave, but a goodbye. I don't wave back. Nathan rolls the window down, lets the wind whip through his hair. I used to dream about this, he says quietly. About finding my real mom. Thought she'd be some movie star or something. Not this. I smile, small and sad. I'm not a movie star. But I'm here. He looks at me then. Really looks. And for the first time I see Alexander in his eyes. Not the baby, but the man he's become. Yeah, he says. You are? We drive in silence, the ring glinting on the dashboard where he said it. A beginning. A reckoning. Tomorrow, Richard pays. Tonight, I start learning how to be a mother again. The spare room at my sister Claire's house smells of lavender and fresh paint. The walls a soft butter yellow that catches the morning light like a promise. Nathan stands in the doorway, backpack slung over one shoulder, looking too tall for the space, too old for the twin bed with its quilted sailboats. He sets the bag down carefully, as if the floor might reject him. You don't have to stay, I say for the third time since we left Richard on the porch last night. If it's too much, it's fine. His voice is rough, like he hasn't used it in hours. He fingers the silver ring on his right hand, the one Richard gave him, spinning it round and round. Better than the motel I was gonna crash in. Claire appears behind me with a stack of towels, her smile gentle but wary. Bathroom's down the hall. Help yourself to anything in the fridge. Mi casa es su casa, kid. She squeezes my arm as she passes. A silent, I've got your back. Nathan nods, but his eyes are on the framed photo on the dresser. Me at 35, holding a dark-haired baby in a hospital blanket. Claire must have dug it out of storage. I didn't ask her to. That's him, he says, not a question. That's you. I step closer, the floorboards creaking under my weight. 6 hours old. You had the hiccups. The nurse said it was normal, but I cried anyway. He picks up the frame, studies it like evidence. I look small. You were. My throat aches. Perfect. He sets it down carefully, then sits on the edge of the bed, the mattress dipping under him. I keep thinking I should feel something. Relief. Anger. Something. But it's just numb. I sit beside him, leaving a careful foot of space. That's okay. You don't have to feel anything on my schedule. He laughs, a short, sharp sound. You say that like it's easy. It's not. I twist the star pendant around my neck. I've been numb for 20 years. Woke up this morning and the first thing I felt was terror. That you'd be gone. That this was a dream. He looks at me then. Really looks. And I see the crack in his armor. I almost left, he admits. At 3 a.m., I had my shoes on, bag packed. Thought maybe it'd be easier to disappear again. Start over somewhere no one knows my name. What stopped you? He shrugs, but his eyes flick to the photo. Curiosity, maybe. Or spite. Wanted to see if he'd really turn himself in. Richard, the name hangs between us like smoke. He will, I say. I called Detective Lopez this morning. Richard's meeting him at the station at 10. Full confession. The adoption records, the bank transfer, Marco's name, everything. Nathan's jaw tightens. And then what? He goes to prison, I get a pat on the back, and we all move on? No, I shake my head. Then we figure out what we want. You and me, not Richard, not the system, us. He's quiet for a long moment, then, I looked you up last night. Elena Marie Evans. There's a blog, Helping Hands Volunteers. You wrote about the birthday cakes every year. Said you baked them for the child who never grew up. My cheeks burn. I didn't know anyone would read it. I did. His voice is soft. Read every post. You wrote about the first time He smiled. How I grabbed your finger and wouldn't let go. How you sang, "You Are My Sunshine," off key. But I didn't care. Tears prick my eyes. I remember. I don't. He looks down at his hands. I don't remember any of it. Not you, not him, not the house. Just fragments. A backyard at night. Someone crying. A car door slamming. Then nothing till I was 4 and Mrs. Whitmore was teaching me to tie my shoes. I want to reach for him, but I don't. That's okay, I say again. We'll make new memories. He snorts. You make it sound simple. It's not, but it's a start. Claire knocks lightly on the open door. Coffee's on, and I made cinnamon rolls. Nathan, you like cinnamon rolls? He hesitates, then nods. Yeah, thanks. We eat in the kitchen, the 3 of us around Claire's scarred oak table. Nathan devours 3 rolls like he's starving, licking frosting from his thumb with the same absent-minded gesture Alexander used to do with pureed peas. Claire watches him with soft eyes, then excuses herself to check the garden. She's giving us space. I love her for it. After breakfast, Nathan helps with the dishes without being asked, his sleeves rolled up, forearms strong from years of manual labor. I dry, he washes, the silence companionable, but charged. I used to fix cars, he says suddenly, at the last group home. Mrs. Delgado, she had a shop, taught me everything, said I had magic hands. He glances at me. Guess that's something. It's a lot, I say. You're good with your hands, like your grandpa, my dad. He could build anything. He nods, focusing on a stubborn spot on a plate. I looked him up too. Your dad. Obituary from 2018 said he died fixing a roof in a storm. Stubborn old goat. I laugh through the ache. That was him. We finish the dishes, and I pour us more coffee. Outside, the sky is clearing, patches of blue breaking through the gray. Nathan leans against the counter, mug cradled in both hands. I need to see him, he says. Richard, before he goes in. I nod. We can go together. After. He shakes his head. No, alone. I need to, I don't know, say what I need to say without you there to filter it. I swallow the instinct to protect. Okay, but I'll drive you. Wait in the car. He agrees, and we leave at 9:30. The police station is a low brick building downtown, the parking lot half full. Richard's truck is there, mud still caked on the tires. Nathan stares at it for a long moment, then gets out without a word. I watch him walk inside, shoulders squared, the ring glinting on his finger. 10 minutes later, he's back, face unreadable. "Well?" I ask as he slides into the passenger seat. "He cried," Nathan says. "Begged me to forgive him, said he'd trade his life for one more day with me as a baby." He looks out the window. I told him I didn't want his life. I wanted mine back, the one he stole. I start the car. And he said he's leaving town after he signs the papers, doesn't want to drag us through a trial, plead guilty, do the time, ask me to tell you he's sorry, that he loves you. I grip the wheel until my knuckles whiten. He doesn't get to love me anymore. Nathan nods. That's what I told him. We drive in silence to the cemetery, Claire's idea. She texted while Nathan was inside, "Bring him to Dad's grave. He should know where he comes from." The plot is on a hill overlooking the river, Dad's stone simple. Joseph Marie Evans. Beloved father, 1948-2018. Nathan kneels, brushes leaves from the base. "He fixed roofs in storms," he says. "Stubborn. Runs in the family," I reply. He smiles, small but real. "I want to learn," he says. "About him, about you, about us, but slow. I'm not good at fast." "Slow's perfect," I say. "We've got time." He stands, dusts off his jeans. "One more thing. I'm keeping the name Nathan. It's mine, but—" He pulls a small card from his pocket, hands it to me. A new driver's license, still warm from the DMV printer. Nathan Alexander Evans. My breath catches. "You changed it. Middle name only. Figured Alexander deserved to live somewhere." He shrugs, but his eyes are wet. "Hope that's okay." I pull him into a hug, the first one, fierce and clumsy. He stiffens, then relaxes, arms coming around me like he's testing the weight of it. He smells like cinnamon and motor oil, and something uniquely him. "It's more than okay," I whisper into his shoulder. "It's everything." We stand there a long time, the wind tugging at our clothes, the river glinting below. When we pull apart, his eyes are clear. "I'm not ready to call you Mom," he says, "but I'm ready to try." I nod, tears streaming. That's enough. Back at Claire's, he naps on the couch, the ring on his finger catching the afternoon light. I sit in the armchair, watching him breathe, memorizing the rise and fall of his chest. My son, home. My phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. It's done. Papers signed. I'm gone by tonight. Tell him I'm sorry. Tell him I loved him enough to let him go twice. I delete it. Some apologies don't deserve space. Nathan stirs, murmurs something in his sleep. I pull the quilt higher over his shoulders, the way I did when he was 6 weeks old. "Slow," I promised. "We'll go slow." But for the first time in 20 years, the future feels wide open. The storm rolls in just after dusk, a bruise-colored wall of cloud that swallows the last of the light. Claire's house is too quiet without Nathan. He left an hour ago, saying he needed air, needed to think. I let him go, even though every maternal instinct screamed to follow. He's 20 years old, not 20 days. He gets to choose his own storms. I'm in the kitchen, hands wrapped around a mug of tea gone cold, when my phone buzzes on the counter. Unknown number. I almost ignore it, but something, call it a mother's radar, makes me answer. "Elena?" Nathan's voice, low and tight. "I'm at the old house. He's here." "Richard." My heart lurches. "Nathan, what?" "Just come, please, before I do something I can't take back." The line goes dead. I'm out the door before I grab a coat, Claire's spare key clutched in my fist. The rain is a roar now, sheets of it slashing sideways, turning the roads into rivers. Headlights blur into streaks of gold as I speed through town, the wipers fighting a losing battle. The old house looms at the end of Maple Street, porch light flickering like a dying star. Nathan's beat-up Civic is in the driveway, driver's door still open, rain soaking the seats. I run through the downpour, shoes slipping on wet grass. The front door hangs ajar. Inside, the house smells of dust and bourbon and something sharper, fear. The living room is dark, but a sliver of light spills from the nursery upstairs. I take the stairs 2 at a time, heart hammering so loud I barely hear the voices. "Thought you could just walk away?" Nathan's voice, raw with fury. "Sign some papers and disappear like none of it happened?" Richard's reply is a broken whisper. "I was trying to give you a clean start." "Clean?" "A crash, glass shattering." "You want clean? How about I show you what it felt like to be thrown away?" I reach the nursery doorway and freeze. Nathan stands in the center of the room, rain dripping from his hair, a kitchen knife trembling in his right hand. The blade catches the light from the hallway, throws it back like a scream. Richard is backed against the crib, hands raised, face pale as death. The bourbon bottle lies shattered at his feet, amber liquid pooling like blood. "Nathan." My voice cracks the air. "Put it down." He doesn't look at me. His eyes, my eyes, are locked on Richard. "He texted me," he says, "from a burner. Said he was leaving town tonight, that he couldn't face you again. I came to stop him, to make him feel it." Richard's gaze flickers to me, pleading. "Len, I wasn't running, I swear. I needed to see the house one last time. Say goodbye." Liar. Nathan's knuckles whiten on the knife. "You've been lying since the day I was born." I step into the room, slow, deliberate. Rainwater streams from my hair, cold against my scalp. "Nathan, look at me." He does, finally. The rage in his eyes is a living thing, but beneath it, grief, raw and bleeding. "He took everything," he whispers. "My name, my childhood, you." I know. I keep my voice steady, even as my legs shake. "But this," I gesture at the knife, "this doesn't give it back, it just takes more." Richard slides down the crib leg until he's sitting in the spilled bourbon, head in his hands. "I deserve it," he mutters. "Let him. I took his life. He can take mine." "No!" The word rips out of me, fierce and maternal. I move until I'm between them, my back to Richard, facing Nathan. The knife is inches from my chest. "If you do this, you don't just kill him. You kill us, the chance we have, the future. You'll be in a cage, Nathan, and I'll lose you all over again." His hand wavers. Rain hammers the window, a relentless drumbeat. "He doesn't get to walk away," he says, voice breaking. "Not after everything." "He won't." I reach out, slow, and cover his hand with mine. The knife is cold, slick with rain and sweat. "He'll pay. In court, in prison, every day for the rest of his life. But not like this. Not by your hand." Nathan's breath hitches. A sob tears free, raw and guttural. The knife clatters to the floor, spinning in the bourbon puddle. He crumples, and I catch him. My boy, my grown-up baby, his weight heavy against me as he cries like the child he never got to be. Behind me, Richard scrambles for something in his pocket. I turn just in time to see the small brown vial, the kind that holds pills. He tips it to his lips, swallows dry. "Richard, no." But he's already choking, foam at the corners of his mouth. Cyanide, fast, merciless. He slumps sideways, eyes wide, fixed on Nathan. "I set you free," he rasps, the words barely audible. "Both of you." Then he's gone. Nathan stares at the body, chest heaving. He just... I pull him close, shielding his eyes from the sight. "Don't look, don't!" Sirens wail in the distance. Someone must have heard the crash, called it in. Red and blue lights flicker through the rain-streaked window, painting the nursery walls in ghost colors. I hold Nathan tighter, rocking him like I did when he was 6 weeks old, humming "You Are My Sunshine" through my tears. The police find us like that, mother and son on the nursery floor, Richard's body cooling beside the shattered bottle. They take statements, bag the knife, the vial, the spilled bourbon. Nathan is silent, shock glazing his eyes. I answer for both of us. my voice steady even as my heart shatters. Later, in the back of an ambulance, Nathan finally speaks. "I wanted to hate him," he whispers, "but when he said he was setting us free, I believed him." I take his hand, the silver ring cold against my skin. "He was wrong," I say. "We set ourselves free. Tonight. Together." He nods, tears cutting clean tracks through the grime on his cheeks. Outside, the rain slows to a drizzle, the storm passing as suddenly as it came. At Claire's, we shower, change into dry clothes. Nathan falls asleep on the couch, the ring still on his finger, my old quilt tucked under his chin. I sit beside him, watching the rise and fall of his chest, the way his brow smooths in sleep. Richard's death will be ruled a suicide. The confession, the adoption records, the bank transfer, everything will come out in the investigation. There will be headlines, questions, grief, but there will also be closure. I brush a lock of hair from Nathan's forehead, the gesture automatic, maternal. He stirs, murmurs something that sounds like home. Yes, I think. We're home. The nursery will be empty tomorrow. Crib donated. Walls painted over. The past boxed up and buried with Richard. But the future, Nathan's laugh in the kitchen, his boots by the door, his name on the mailbox, that begins now. I lean down, press a kiss to his temple. "Sleep, my sunshine," I whisper. "We've got a lifetime to catch up on." Outside, the clouds part. A single star glints through, bright and steady. Our North Star. 3 months have passed since that storm-soaked night in the nursery, and the world has shifted on its axis, slow and deliberate, like a ship finding its course after years adrift. The old house is sold. Claire handled the paperwork, her brisk efficiency a shield against the memories that clung to every corner. I kept only 3 things: the star pendant, Alexander's hospital bracelet, and the yellow legal pad where Richard wrote his final confession. The rest, crib, mobile, faded onesies, went to a women's shelter. Let another mother rock her baby under those painted stars. Nathan and I live in a small apartment above Claire's garage now, a temporary nest while we figure out what home means. The walls are bare except for one framed photo. The 2 of us at the river the day he changed his name, wind whipping our hair, his arms slung awkwardly around my shoulders, like he wasn't sure it belonged there. It does. It always did. Mornings are my favorite. I wake to the smell of coffee, Nathan's brew, strong and slightly burnt, and the soft clink of his mug against the counter. He's taken to leaving the window open, even in November, letting the crisp air chase out the ghosts. Some days he talks about the auto shop where he's apprenticing, the '72 Mustang he's rebuilding, the way Mrs. Delgado called him mijo and meant it. Other days he's quiet, lost in the pages of a car manual or staring at the river from the fire escape. I don't push. Healing isn't a straight line. It's a spiral, circling back to the same wounds until they scar over. Today is one of the quiet days. I find him on the fire escape, knees drawn up, the silver ring glinting on his finger. The sky is the color of a robin's egg, the river below sparkling like it's in on a secret. "Coffee's getting cold," I say, leaning out the window. He turns, a small smile tugging at his mouth. "Thought I'd watch the sunrise. Haven't done that since I was a kid." I climb out to join him, the metal cold under my palms. We sit shoulder to shoulder, the silence comfortable now, not fraught. Below, a jogger waves at a dog walker. Life goes on, ordinary and miraculous. "I got a letter," he says after a while, pulling an envelope from his pocket. The paper is thick, expensive, the handwriting elegant but shaky. "From Richard's lawyer. He left me something." I stiffen. "What?" Nathan opens the envelope, pulls out a single sheet and a key. "The cabin upstate, the one we used to go to when I was—" He stops, corrects himself. "When Alexander was little, deeds in my name. And this." He hands me the letter. I read aloud, my voice steady, despite the lump in my throat. Nathan, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I don't expect forgiveness. God knows I don't deserve it. But the cabin was the only place I ever felt like a decent father. The lake where you caught your first fish, a sunfish, remember? You cried when we threw it back. The porch where Elena sang you to sleep. It's yours now. Make new memories. Burn it down if you want. Just live. I loved you enough to let you go twice. Don't waste the third chance. Our Nathan takes the letter back, folds it carefully. I don't want to burn it, he says. But I don't want to keep it either. Not yet. I nod. We'll go when you're ready. Fish, sing off key. Let the lake wash it clean. He leans his head against my shoulder, a gesture so natural it steals my breath. You know what I realized? He murmurs. Being a mother isn't about the years you get. It's about the ones you fight for. Tears blur my vision, but I smile. And being a son isn't about the ones you lose. It's about the ones you choose to come back to. We sit until the sun is fully up, painting the river gold. Inside, the coffee's cold, but we reheat it, laughing when the microwave dings too loud. Nathan makes pancakes, lopsided, slightly charred. Perfect. We eat at the tiny table, syrup sticky on our fingers, talking about everything and nothing. He tells me about the Mustang's carburetor. I tell him about the garden Claire's letting me plant come spring. Ordinary talk. Extraordinary because it's ours. Later I walk to the cafe where it all began, Brewed Awakening. The corner table still there, waiting. I order chamomile, no sugar, and sit where Nathan sat that first day. The barista, a girl with purple streaks in her hair, recognizes me. You're the lady with the sun, she says shyly. He fixed my bike last week, didn't charge me. I smile, warmth spreading through my chest. That's my boy. Outside, the leaves are turning, reds and golds bleeding into the sidewalks. I pass the park where Alexander would have played, the library where we pieced together the truth. The world is the same, but I'm not. I'm lighter, whole. My phone buzzes. A text from Nathan. Shop's closing early. Dinner at 6? I'm making lasagna. Don't burn the garlic bread this time. I laugh, type back. Deal, but you're on dish duty. I'm almost home when I see him. Nathan, leaning against his Civic in the parking lot, watching me approach. He's got a grease smudge on his cheek, the ring catching the sunlight. Our eyes meet across the distance. No words needed. Just a mother and her son, finding their way back to each other, one sunrise, one pancake, one off-key song at a time. The scar still aches sometimes, late at night, when the apartment is quiet, and the what-ifs creep in. But it's a different ache now, not loss, but love, the kind that stretches across 20 lost years and still holds. I reach him, and he opens the car door for me like it's the most natural thing in the world. Ready? He asks. Always, I say. We drive home, the radio playing low, the star pendant warm against my skin. The road ahead is long, unpaved, ours to map together. And for the first time in 20 years, I'm not afraid of what's around the next bend. My dear listener, did you feel every heartbeat of this journey with me? From that first glimpse of the star pendant to the sunrise on the fire escape. What moment touched you deepest? Tell me in the comments. What city are you whispering this story from tonight? If my words wrapped around your heart, please hit that super thanks. Your support keeps these confessions alive. Lets me pour more late-night truths into your ears. Thank you, truly, for holding space for Elena, for Nathan, for me. On your screen right now, 2 new real-life stories glow. Handpicked, raw, waiting for you. My channel is a hearth of second chances. Don't leave without subscribing and ringing the bell. I'll be here, voice soft, tea steaming, ready for the next tale. Until then, keep your own North Star close. With all my love and respect, see you in the comments and in the next story.